We start off with the latest coming in from Afghanistan. The Taliban terrorists have entered the outskirts of Kabul as the threat to the capital city is growing with each passing minute. The Taliban spokesperson has now said that the Taliban terrorists have been instructed to stay at the gates of Kabul and not enter the capital. Local sources suggesting that the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani is in talks with the US peace envoy Zalmay Khalilzad and the NATO officials. Although some residents reported the terrorists had peacefully entered some outer suburbs, this comes hardly hours after the terrorists had taken over another provincial capital, Maidan Sheher city, which is just 50 kilometers or 30 miles away from Kabul. Let's go straight across now to our correspondent Anas Malik, who has been in Kabul, getting us the very latest. Anas, over to you. What more do we know at this point?
Well, what we know is that President Ashraf Ghani is currently in a meeting with US Special Envoy for Afghan Peace, Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad. This is what has been confirmed by Afghan Presidential Palace. If I talk to you about what is happening here in Kabul right now, to my left, at least in the skies of Kabul, I can spot at least 4 helicopters, with one of them being constantly hovering over the US Embassy compound. We've been seeing helicopters go in, and fly out. There is an evacuation mission that we understand is ongoing of the European embassies, of the US Embassy and of the Canadian Embassy as well. If you can hear probably as I talk to you, that there are helicopters that are hovering over. I see another helicopter to my left, again towards the US Embassy compound. So there is excessive movement of helicopters that are being witnessed today on the streets of Kabul. There is chaos, there is anger, there is frustration. We see policemen who are angry at the people, at their higher commands for not resisting the Taliban. We are given to understand that the Taliban spokesperson has said that there is a transition of power, there is negotiations for the transition of power that is currently ongoing, and subsequently we saw a statement coming in from the acting Afghan Interior Minister as well, saying that the transition of power will be peaceful. Given to understand that the meeting of Zalmay Khalilzad at the Afghan Presidential Palace is to do with that. There are some reports that Taliban officials are also there at the Afghan Presidential Palace. It is unverified as yet, independently unverified about Taliban officials being present in the Afghan Presidential Palace. But what I can confirm that indeed US Special Envoy for Afghan Peace, Ambassador Khalilzad, is in a meeting along with NATO senior civil representative Stefano Pontecorvo, and additionally the two are meeting Afghan President Ashraf Ghani at the Afghan Presidential Palace. Yes, Molly.
Right, Anas, let's also talk about the swift territorial gains that have been made by the Taliban over the last few days. This coming in just after the Maidan Sheher city, which is considered as the gateway to Kabul, has also been taken over by the Taliban over the last few hours.
Well, yes, the Taliban have claimed to have overrun 27 provinces out of the 34 in the country. This is a claim, but in most of these claims we find some substance because they are verified by local lawmakers. The latest being that of Wardak city or Wardak province, the city of Maidan Sheher, which is just 50 kilometers to southwest to Kabul, about 25 miles to Kabul, and it is considered as the gateway to Kabul. That was attacked about 2 nights ago, and today I was there yesterday as well, reporting on that. There was no traffic on the roads, at least back then. There was this growing fear or insecurity or this general sense within the people because the shops were closed, there was no traffic, there was nobody at the roads, and then we heard a continuous fire, gunshots as well. I was stuck there yesterday, and 24 hours hours later, the Taliban have claimed. Now, if I just pause for a moment, and I'll tell you, I see two more Chinooks, two right in front of me, coming from the Kabul airport side and going towards what I understand is the U.S. embassy, because it's nearby to the Afghan presidential palace. So there's another Chinook as well coming back. So to Maidan Sheher, the takeover to Maidan Sheher was very significant, and the Taliban just did not stop there. There were increasing reports that they were progressing towards Paghman as well. Paghman is one of the districts of Kabul. It's more of a picnic spot. It's a lush green picnic spot, and there were reports the Taliban were progressing on that. So as we speak, there are talks that are ongoing. What we can confirm, what is the nature of those talks, that cannot be ascertained as we speak. But there is uncertainty, there is anger, there is chaos. We've seen long queues of people waiting outside banks. We've seen long queues. We've seen traffic jams, unusual traffic jam, unusual delays. And as I said, there is frustration within policemen, frustration that is visible out on the roads. Yes, Molly.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Anas, thanks very much for the latest updates. Now, the blatant and widespread human rights violations by the Taliban in Afghanistan need urgent attention. To discuss the security situation in the country, Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Mohammad Hanif Atmar called on the Indian ambassador to Kabul. The Foreign Minister discussed the impact of the violence on regional stability. Hanif Atmar stressed on the establishment of lasting peace and stability in the country, which is much needed for the welfare of the region. He also stressed on the role of Afghanistan's international partners, including India, in ensuring security in Afghanistan as well as the entire region. New Delhi continues to monitor the evolving and worsening security situation. The Indian ambassador expressed deep concern over the situation in the country, but he has reassured India's continued commitment to cooperate and support a peaceful Afghanistan. Meanwhile, as Afghanistan plunges deep into that crisis, the Indian government has decided to provide refuge to Afghan citizens by issuing them long-term Indian visas. The move will help Afghans who worked closely with India and others who are under risk, like journalists, writers, activists, minorities. The plans are afoot, but the exact number of refugees is still not known. Last week, India brought back 50 of its nationals from Mazar-e-Sharif when the city was surrounded by advancing Taliban. India has withdrawn diplomats from both Kandahar and Mazar consulates, which are now being run by locals. Regular security advisories have been issued by the Indian embassy in Kabul, asking its nationals to return to India by the earliest commercial flight. India has around 1,500 of its nationals in the country involved in various developmental works. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.